Welcome to Saxophonist. I'm your host, Dave Saxologist. Today I have another special guest. He is an international recording artist, a faith leader, and just a really good guy. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Chris Godber. Chris, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Man, it's my pleasure, man. I first want to start off by saying I appreciate all the tips over the years. You've been one of the most accessible celebrities, guys that are really good. And I really appreciate your fan interaction and just answering questions, man, and just being real cool. So thank you for that,
You're welcome. That's probably because I'm not a celebrity, so you can contact me anytime.
man. No, no, brother. You know what? You have at least let me see, your debut. What was your debut album? Was it 20?
Starting over. Yeah, I had several ones prior to that
Right.
that aren't even on the streaming platforms, but my breakout smooth jazz project was starting over, 2015.
Okay, that's good, man. So
Yeah,
let me ask.
that was when I finally decided to try to get on the radio. Everything before that was just local projects to have something to sell at my gigs.
Okay, that's what's up. So let me ask you that, man. Did you come from a musical background? How did you get started in music?
No, nobody in my family plays music. My dad always sang in church, but didn't really play any instruments, and so it's kind of a long story. But my dad was Air Force, and we were stationed in Germany when I was a wee lad, and we didn't watch a lot of TV because we could only pick up like one channel if those little antenna bunny ears were turned just right. So when I wasn't playing outside, did a lot in those days, but this was Europe, so it rained a lot.
Yeah.
So we listened to a lot of music, and I grew up in a very conservative Christian home. We mainly really listened to Christian music, with one exception to a sax player named Kenny G. So the Jewish sax player was okay. So we listened to a lot of him, and that made me want to play the saxophone. And so that was kind of what sparked it. But nobody in my family played instruments, so I had to wait till I was in band before I could start potentially playing the saxophone.
So at the time though, before you started playing the sax, even though you were only listening to Christian music, do you think you were developing your ear because did you hear something in school or something and say, "Hey, this is different than what we play at home"?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I love the way it sounded. But my parents were big music fans, and I remember we went to quite a few concerts while we lived in Germany and in the States. The first one that I remember was a Christian rock group we went to called DeGarmo and Key, and this is late '80s. And I remember just being in awe of the live music, and they're playing guitar, and it's different when you listen to it at home. And then when you're there, the just all of it. I mean, you've got the audience, just the whole energy, and it was just something. And I remember after the show, my dad took me up to the stage and let me shake hands with I think it was Eddie DeGarmo and Dana Key. I got to shake hands with them. Those were the lead singers of the band, and I still remember I was probably like 5, and I remember like shaking hands with the guy, just looking him in the eye, and then just like, wow, I just made contact. I just touched this famous guy. It was even at 5 years old, it was a surreal thing. And I felt a connection to music for sure. But it wasn't until later on that I really knew what it meant. And when we were living back in the States, I started middle school. We were living in Charleston, South Carolina. That was my dad's last base. And just looking back, it's easy to see how God ordered my steps and orchestrated all of it. But I wanted to play saxophone, and I thought about trumpet too. I thought trumpet was really cool, but I had braces, so saxophone was going to be a little bit more realistic. But my doctors tried to talk me out of that too, because I have asthma. And I always had asthma. I was the kid with an inhaler everywhere that I went. And so they said, "Hey, you can't play saxophone. You got to do something else. Try piano or something else." I said, "No, I want to play saxophone." And so they said, "You need to do something else." They really like, "You're really not going to be able to do it." And against doctor's orders, my parents got me an alto saxophone and said, "Hey, give it your best shot." And so that was 1997. August 25th. It's my mom's birthday. So my mom's birthday is always my saxophone anniversary every year.
All
And
right.
so I got it. I started sixth grade band and found out it's really hard to play a saxophone. You know, there's a lot of buttons on these things. It takes a lot of air, even if you don't have asthma. But having asthma, I felt like the deck was kind of stacked against me, you know. And
Yeah.
so it was really hard. And ultimately, I wanted to quit so many times. But my parents reminding me that I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And they also reminded me that they paid a lot of money for a saxophone and I was going to keep playing it. So there's that too. But I just kept, that was sixth grade. By eighth grade, I was the first chair sax player in my middle school band. But I was also the only saxophone player in eighth grade because it was a small band. And I kept playing, but no, seriously, God really blessed it. The positive pressure it takes to blow, really helped my lungs during those developmental years. As a respiratory therapist, I can understand the physics behind it to a point, but asthma is a weird thing. It can get better or it can get worse. And praise God that mine got better. I still have it, but God allows me to play, and I give all glory and honor to Him.
What are the challenges? 'Cause like you said, even when you're healthy, saxophone is just hard instrument to play anyway. So when you have
Yeah,
asthma, though, so is it just hard to get through measures? Is that what you were having problems with?
yeah, I would say, I mean, saxophone anyway. Like you said, it's difficult. You've got to learn breath support, your breath
Mm.
control, how to space out that breath you take to get and with your phrasing and how much air it takes and how much air you can reserve to get through. You know what I mean? And
Right, right.
there's experimentation with mouthpieces, reeds to get that resistance. You got to find that happy medium, just like even now, finding a reed strength that supports that's stiff enough to give resistance for the high register, but soft enough that you can subtone the low register, so there's a happy medium. But starting out, it's just that breath support of learning how long of a passage you can play, when to breathe, all of that. Everybody has to do that, but with asthma, sometimes we have this obstruction that is harder. It takes longer to blow the air out, and for some people it's worse than others. And of course, there's triggers. If your airway's a little compromised, it feels like you're breathing through a straw. You know, so I was on a lot of corticosteroids to keep my lungs kind of beefed up a little bit. I always had the rescue inhaler, the albuterol bronchodilators to keep me open for like PE and things like that. I had to be on a lot of medications, but the saxophone and praise God that He used it to help me get off of those medications. And now I almost never have to take anything. Sometimes in the winter months I get on something, but for the most part I'm very active. I work out and I forget that I even have asthma most of the time.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing, man. Like you say, you're really big on your faith, so am I, and you believe in manifestation and all that good stuff. And God is good, man, because he can take anything and turn it around for us. So I like that
Absolutely.
attitude, you know.
Too good to not believe.
Yes, yes, man. So let me ask you, Chris, did you growing up, did you play in church?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what kept me going. So middle school band, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, that was in Charleston, South Carolina. Then my dad retired, and we moved to Panama City, which is where I still live, and that's where my mom was from. I was born there and came back when all was said and done. And I did high school here, and I I had to choose a path. You know, when you're in ninth grade, the guidance counselors they sat me down and apparently you have to have the rest of your life planned out by ninth grade. And so I had it all figured out, of course, and I thought I was going to be a fighter pilot. I listened to too much Kenny D growing up, and I watched too much Top Gun, and so I wanted to be Maverick. I wanted to fly jets, and so playing music was never part of my plan career wise. So at my school, I could do ROTC or I could do band, but I couldn't do both because of the way the electives fell. And so, you know, wanting to be a military guy, I chose JROTC. And but that means I couldn't do band. And so the whole time I was playing at my church, I decided to play in the church band instead to keep my saxophone chops up. And that was God orchestrated as well because ninth, 10th, 11th grade, I was in JROTC. I was on the drill team, honor guard. I was that guy on the football field folding flags and rifles and all that stuff. And then my senior year, I found out I couldn't go in any branch of the military at all because of my very well documented asthma history, thanks to TRICARE and all these things. And so that really shattered my dreams because that's all I wanted to do.
Right.
And now I found out I couldn't do this. Like the closest to any branch of the military I could get would be working as a cashier at Old Navy, and it's not the same. All right, so so that's not gonna fly. No pun intended. But the whole time I've been playing saxophone at my church, and I was playing 3 or 4 services a week, and sometimes at multiple churches. And I started at ninth grade. I was the only saxophone player there at the time, and a little small church with a mix of older, hymnal music, and then sprinkling in some new contemporary music at the time. And they didn't know what to do with me. You got keyboards, bass, guitar, drums. I was the only sax player. They didn't even know to give me any sheet music because they're playing off chord charts,
Yeah, yeah.
And so I had to learn how to play by ear, and I had to learn music theory through the School of Hard Knocks, basically, because I had to figure out what key I was in reflective to concert key. And at the time, I was playing alto saxophone. I later bought a tenor, and I had to learn how to do that and what key they were in, and then mentally transpose, and then going up the scales to figure out where that melody line was, and try to figure out where to ad lib, where to play, when not to play, more importantly. And so not running over the singers and things like that, just filling those little holes, getting in, getting out, playing a little riff. And I learned a lot. I did that my whole high school years, and then that got me into getting paid to play the professional line when I started getting booked for weddings and things like that. But that kind of the circle back to what really sparked it to get me started was a teacher of mine. My senior year, when I found out I couldn't go in the military, I dropped out of ROTC. I said, "There's no point in continuing this," So I at that point it was too late to get in band, and so the only other and I had all my electives met. Thankfully I had good grades, and I was on track for 100% scholarship. So basically, I just needed something to fill a slot. And my music teacher, I was choir teacher. She let me in choir, and then basically made it was like her planning period, and she created a class for me. It was I forget what she called it, but anyway, I was the only student in there. She was like her planning period, and I was just being there playing the piano and writing songs and doing homework and things. But she had heard me play saxophone outside of school at churches, because I was playing a lot of churches at this time. And so she knew that I played, but nobody else at school, other than my 2 or 3 friends I had at the time, knew that I played. I was kind of a loner. And so nobody knew that I played. And so she signed me up for a talent show. And they were having a school talent show. I was super shy. I was not going to sign up at all, because honestly, I was made fun of a lot in school. And so I didn't want to get in front of these people that make fun of me all the time. I had nothing to prove to them, didn't care. And she let me know, she's like, "By the way, Chris, I signed you up for the talent show this Friday. You're going to be playing saxophone." I'm like, "Oh, I am." And so I was a bit nervous about that. And so I didn't know, what am I going to play? I'll play one of these church songs that I play that I made a track for, a real cheesy track, like a Casio keyboard. I recorded in the drum track and stuff like that. And I put it on a CD, because, we had CDs at the time. And so I show up with my saxophone, and everybody's really confused why I'm holding a saxophone, because I'm not in band. And so they didn't know I played. I play this song, and in it, this was before I knew how to do circular breathing, but I had been inspired by artists like Kenny G and people that can hold notes for a really long time. At the time, I didn't know what circular breathing was. And so I had developed my breath control to be able to hold a note for a really long time. And this particular song was probably like 4.5 minutes. But I held a note for like 45 seconds or something, just because I had built up my stamina to be able to do that. And I ended up holding this note for a really long time at the end of the song. And then, at the song, everybody claps, I walk off stage, and I was just backstage hanging out. And at the very end, they call all the contestants out there kind of in a semicircle. And there was bands, there was like the punk bands and these dance teams and all these different people. They were really good. There was several bands. I just knew one of the bands would win, because they always do. And then apparently I still didn't hear it, don't remember it, but they called out my name as the grand winner or the grand prize winner. And I didn't even hear it because I was just in my own little world knowing I wasn't going to win. So I was just tuned out. And then everybody's like looking at me, high-fiving me, and I'm like, well, what happened? I zoned out. And they're like, you won. So I won first place at the talent show my senior year, which was the prize was a huge basket. It had like movie tickets. It had a bunch of Coke or Pepsi products. It had Belgian chocolates and all kinds of cool stuff. But for me, that was the first time I'd ever won anything. And just the reaction of my peers that for the first time in the past 4 years of school, I had a little bit of respect for them. And then for the rest of the school year, everybody was calling me Kenny G because, of course, that's the only sax player they knew of, and so that was my nickname for the rest of the school year. But then everybody's like, "Why aren't you in band?" And so I had like 15 minutes of fame after my talent show. But just the fun that I had, it really sparked that. Okay, this whole performing thing, there could be something to it. And that's when I started also getting booked for weddings. And so when one door closed, God definitely opened another one and redirected my path. And I started really seeking his will for my life for the first time on what he would have me do.
That's beautiful, man. So did you go to music college for music or?
Yes and no. I did not major in that. I started off in that at the college I went to. And this was another. I was praying, seeking God's will, and I'm just like, maybe I'm going to do this music thing. And by this time I'm playing weddings and private events and getting booked pretty steadily for things like that. So I thought, well, I need to major in music, but I'm looking at like, what am I going to do with this music degree? One, I'm really bored in some of these classes because some of the stuff I had learned, I had taught myself, but I just didn't know the formal vocabulary for what it was called with some of this music theory stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I know how to do that. I just didn't know that's what it was called term wise, but I could show them and things like that. But also you have to, when you're a music major, you have to declare your instrument or your voice, and they didn't have anybody to teach saxophone. Not to mention they didn't teach jazz; they taught classical, and so I had to pick a different instrument. And even though I played keys, I mainly played by chords and by ear. As far as reading the treble clef and the bass clef, it was very confusing. Being that as a sax player, I only had to read treble clef.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm not going to major in piano. And so then they were like, well, you can major in voice. And then I did that for a little while, like a 9 weeks or a semester. And singing in German and Latin wasn't really my forte either. I wasn't too keen on that. And I decided, I'm not going to do this. And I accidentally discovered respiratory therapy. So my grandma got sick with pneumonia. She went in the hospital. I was visiting her, and clinician comes in, putting her on oxygen, giving her breathing treatments, and then out of the room. I'm like, what was she? Like, she's not a nurse. Who is that? So I chased her down the hallway. I'm like, what are you? And, because on TV, they only glorify doctors and nurses.
Right,
this is
right,
the only
right.
field in the medical field that anybody knows about. And there's tons of other fields that don't get any glory at all, but they're just as relevant. And so I asked her what she was. She said she was a respiratory therapist. Ironically, being an asthmatic, I had never heard of it. And so I said, well, how do you do that? And she told me that she went to what's now a state college. It was community college when I went here locally. And I had already graduated. At this point, I'd already graduated with my AA because I just did like a general AA. I said, when I decided not to do music, I just said, well, I'll do whatever and to graduate, and I'll select a major at the 4-year school. And then nothing was sparking my interest. So like at that time, I had taken off school for about a year to figure out what I was going to do next. I mean, I was looking at everything from underwater crime scene investigation to whatever. I'm like, nothing is sparking joy. I just want to play music and figure out something. So at this time, that's when God showed me this. And so this lady, she said, yeah, I'm a respiratory therapist. It's it's a 2-year program at the college. And so literally that day I drove right from the hospital down to the college. I called my mom. I'm like, I know what I'm going to do. It's just this light bulb, just instantly like peace about it. And so I went to the admissions office. It was like the day before closing for like the next segment. And she said, this is very competitive. They only take 14 people a semester. to start versus nursing that takes like 70. And so I applied. I had to write some bogus essay entry form to get in. I didn't even know what it was. I was like making stuff up. So the director calls me the next day and he says, "Hey, I'll take you, but you've got to take this and this and this and this over the summer," which was the hardest thing I'd ever done. I had to take anatomy one and two and the labs and chemistry and medical terminology all in a summer A and B, which those are hard classes to take in a semester. I had to take condensed. And that was the hardest thing I'd ever done, but it prepped me academically for what I was about to have to go through for this medical program. And by the grace of God, I got in. It was difficult. On the first day, they said, "Look to your left and your right. One of you will not be here when you graduate." And we started with 14, and they weren't kidding. We graduated with 7. It was a high washout.
Yeah.
It was intense, but that's how I became a respiratory therapist instead of a music major.
It was funny because my best friend out here, he's a respiratory therapist, right? He's been for like
Okay.
20 years, and I told him about you. He said, "Oh man," he said, "I definitely got." He watches the interviews anyway. So Rick, you watching? Chris is say hi to Rick, man, my boy Rick.
Yeah, Ricky, that's what's up. Keeping RTs alive,
That's
or
it, man.
keep them alive to 705. That's the saying, right? Keep them breathing.
That'll work, bro. Hey man,
Yeah.
that's all right. So Chris, how did you like growing up in Europe, man? What was that like growing up
Oh,
in the military,
it's
man? What was that like?
it's beautiful, man. I'd love to go back. I got my passport. Any European folks watching, let me know. Call me up. We'll make it happen. It was neat. My parents, we lived off base for a while until we could get onto the base housing. So we had landlords. We lived downstairs, and well, the town was called Eisenach. The base was Bitburg Air Base. It's closed down now, but it was Eisenach, a little farm town right in the center of Germany. And we
Okay.
had cows for neighbors pretty much. The farmers be moving their cows down the street to a different pasture regularly. And I learned to ride a bike there. On the weekends, we would go see castles, which is just something most Americans can't even fathom. And we would go visit castles on the weekends, and we're just like walking around. We had like an apple orchard like right down the road from where we lived, which was really neat. Did a lot of hiking. I have a lot of good memories from it. It was really neat, and I haven't experienced anything remotely close to it since.
You know, I can relate to the part when you said you made me laugh when you talk about that one channel because I was
Yeah.
stationed in Germany in the army from 79 to 81. And
Okay.
so I know what you're talking about that one channel, man. That's all you got, bro. And
That's it.
it
Take it
goes
or
off
leave it.
early too. If you only got one, it goes off early.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I remember those days. I was in Stuttgart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That was a nice place to be. So what was your first
Yeah.
one? What was the first saxophone you played, the make and model? What was it?
It was a Selmer Bundy too. I emphasize the Selmer because it's a Selmer
Yeah,
company,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it was not a Selmer, it was a Bundy too. It was just basic base model as you get. But my parents got it brand new. It was shiny, it was gold with the silver keys, and I remember taking it out of the plastic, and I'm like, wow, it was the most beautiful thing I'd seen, as a sixth grader. And then I had to learn how to blow through it, and then I was intimidated by it. But it was beautiful horn at the time, and I learned a lot from it. I remember this black plastic case with the red Selmer logo on the front of it, and yeah, that was my first horn. I had it through high school, and it served me well. But of course, when you're starting out, you don't know anything about mouthpieces and what the difference of even a reed can make,
Right, right.
different reeds and ligatures, and that's too much of a rabbit hole to send people down to start with. But I upgraded my mouthpiece, whatever it came with, Lord knows, whatever. It
Right.
wasn't even a Selmer Sea Star that it came with, but eventually upgraded to that, and that made a big difference. And then I got like a Rovner ligature and started experimenting with some of that and high school and then I upgraded to a Jupiter Deluxe sometime in high school. It was just solid gold lacquer Jupiter Deluxe, but it had a high sharp key, which was, it was an upgrade for me from my Bundy 2 that didn't have that. And I liked that. I eventually, probably a 10th or 11th grade, I got a Jupiter Artist Series tenor saxophone. I really wanted to play tenor. I love the way tenor sounded. And so this was their silver plated with gold keys model. They're still really cool horns because they actually had a solid silver neck, and I think that made a big difference. It was a pretty bright horn, but I loved that horn. I played it for a long time until I finally saved up enough to get a real Selmer. It wasn't a Mark VI, but it was a Selmer Super Action 80, the first
Okay.
series that they
Yeah.
made. And that was a good horn. I got that on alto, and eventually I got a tenor on those. I've been through a lot of horns over the years. I like trying things out for sure.
I'm the same way, man. You know, you and I, we have, I try to stick. Okay, when you find something you want to stick with, but then something else comes out, though, man. You know, you're like,
Yeah,
let me just see. You know,
yeah, and for me, I mean, I'm still this way to a point, but I was especially in high school and college. I was on a real tight budget, and so there's not a lot of music stores where I am to try things out. I mean, I don't know if you knew about, they closed a few years ago. Sam Ash Music Store was
they
was
just
a big
closed here
chain.
last year, right?
Yeah, yeah, they were a big chain.
They
But
were.
the closest one of those to me is like 5 hours away.
Okay,
And then there's several others down South Florida, which are like 6, 7 hours away, and Central Florida. And then Atlanta has one, or used to, was 5 hours away. And they had a whole wall of saxophones. You
right.
go in there, there'd be like 20 saxophones on the wall, which was heaven for me.
Yeah,
But it was not close by. So I couldn't really try things in my area. So if I wanted to try something, I had to buy it and then know that I'm gonna either have to sell it because I didn't most time I don't buy things brand new. I buy them on eBay to get a deal. And then
likewise.
most of those sellers don't have a return policy. And so
Right.
then it's like, okay, one of these is gonna be sold. Which do I like, and that sort of thing. So some I've let a lot of really good horns go over the years because I'm like, I want to try this now. And it's like, oh, I gotta sell something. And so it's the flavor of the day. This one sounds better today. I like this, it's the temperature's good in this room, or whatever it is that changes the dynamic that makes you hear it that way. And then later on, you're like, I should have kept that. But
How many horns do you own now?
I've got a couple for sale. Every now and then, I just find a good deal that I'm like, I can flip that. Like that's worth 2 or 3 times that. And somebody that doesn't know what they have, and so I do
Right,
that.
right,
But right now that I'm not selling, I've got six. Two of each, two tenors, two altos, two sopranos. I like to have a backup at any given time in case something happens. My horn needs to go to the shop,
right.
because I don't have anybody in my area that repairs horns. So any repair shop is an hour and a half to 2 hours away. And so if I have to take something and leave it, it may take a week or two before I'll get it back,
Yeah,
and I need my horn. So that's kind of how I operate. I have a backup just in case, and
I
that's
understand.
worked pretty well for me.
I have, we have the
Um,
same amount. I have six as well, and I have two EWs. Well, I got the travel. You know about the travel sax? The
yeah,
travel.
actually, my daughter, we just got one of those for her,
I
because
love
she's
that
she's
thing.
the middle school band, she's playing, and she wanted to be able to have it to when
Yeah,
we're traveling and not have to
yeah,
bring hers and practice. It's pretty neat.
it is. I took mine to Hawaii in August, man, and jammed out down there with it, man. Yeah,
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 it is cool. It's more expensive than I thought it should have been, but it's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. You're right about that, though. Yeah,
But that's everything music related,
it is, man. So let's talk gear because we both love gear. So let's.
Oh
What
yeah.
horn? Okay, What's your primary? What are you playing now?
So I'm playing a P Moriat primarily right now for alto and tenor. I'm playing my main tenor is a P Moriat 66. It's the Influence. So it's the same thing as a regular 66R. It has the roll tone holes, but the Influence model, it only comes unlacquered. And the key touches, instead of being pearls or abalone, it's the metal.
Okay,
They're same buttons as like a flute. So it has the
nice.
metal key buttons. I think they're pretty cool. But it's unlacquered. I have a weakness for unlacquered horns. I don't. I mean, I think they look cool, but the reason I like is just the way they resonate. It's
Okay,
hard to describe, but these particular play a bit warmer. They're on the darker side tone wise, and I kind of like that complexity because I play a really bright setup on my mouthpiece and reed.
right.
And so when I have a darker horn with that, it seems to mesh well versus having a really bright horn and a bright mouthpiece and everything else. So so I really like these. I was playing, again, I played a lot of horns. I was playing a purple logo Yamaha 62 tenor for a while. And I
Okay.
liked that horn. And I was satisfied with it, or so I thought. And then I was getting some, I actually needed a repad. And so I was getting it kind of overhauled, and my tech is a P. Moriat guy. And so he was playing one like this, but it was the regular 66R without, where they had the pearls. And he let me borrow his for some gigs I had. And so I tried it out, and really he was selling me, and I knew he was, but I didn't think I would like it. But man, the low end on this with the rolled tone holes, I thought it was kind of a gimmick, but I really could feel and hear the difference. And it was unlacquered too. And I'm like, man, I really like this horn. I didn't want to like it, but I did. And so when I went back to pick up my Yamaha, I'm like, hey, I think I want to get one of those. And he, as a dealer, he cut me a deal on one, and I ended up trading out for it. And I've been playing on it ever since. That was 2018. And so then I decided to get the alto version of it just to kind of match. And so I have the same one on alto. I love it. And soprano, I just recently got a Mark VI soprano. I've always wanted one, and they're kind of hit or miss, especially the sopranos, but all the Mark Sixes. Some of them are good, some of them are great, some of them are eh. And
Right.
a lot of that's probably the setup, but a lot of the sopranos I've played, the intonation can be really finicky. And so I finally found a good one through Mo Lewis, Blue Note Winds.
Oh yeah, yeah. But Mo
You
Lewis
know,
is
you know,
good.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I've been eyeballing this particular one for a while, and ended up trading a horn for it and then paying cash on the difference. So I like the soprano a lot, but it's a lot brighter actually than my P Moriat, this particular one. But I think it's because it's a layer model. It projects really well, but it's a little bit brighter tonally. I'm trying to get used to that, but the intonation is pretty good on it. So that's what I'm playing right now. But the backup horns I've
Oh,
got.
1 second, Chris. Let me ask you about that heavy
Oh,
mass screw. Don't, you can't get away without that. The heavy
oh
mass
yeah,
screw.
yeah.
Talk to me
So
about that, man.
yeah. So this thing right here, this is yeah, it's through West Coast Sax. It's the buzz screw is what Matt calls it. Matt Lee, West Coast Sax. So those are the mouthpieces I play to
Right,
West Coast Sax. But this yeah, I thought that was gimmicky too. I went to NAMM several years ago,
right.
and they were doing, I forget what the thing is that hangs down from the lyre screw.
The
There's several.
Kleinwagen. This thing right here, the Kleinwagen.
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go. Yeah, the toboggan. Yeah, there we go. We'll call it that.
yeah.
No, yeah. So I thought it was gimmicky, but I could hear the difference, and the same type of thing. They're basically doing the same thing.
Right, right.
But I play tested it, and I'm like, okay, I feel like it improves something, and maybe intonation, whatever. But I could hear a difference, and so I've got that on my alto and tenor. And I've seen several other actual big name artists like Huge Groove and other people using them. So I'm like, made me feel like I wasn't as crazy. But no, it seems to do the job. I like it. But there's different iterations of it from different companies. But this is the buzz screw from West Coast Sax.
And that's a P Murray. You know what's funny? Because I bought one and it was the wrong size for my cannonball. And so
Yeah,
I looked up and it said P Maria and Cannonball, they take a 5/32. So it's different than all the other ones though. So I ordered one on
yeah,
eBay.
yeah.
So I'm gonna put that on. I don't know if I saw Boney with it, and it makes it look good too, though. It's an accessory too. So I don't know if it works or not, but they look
Yeah,
cool though, you know?
that's right. Because Boney uses the kind you have,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, he got that and
Yeah.
the heavy mass screws, you know. So
Oh, okay. Well, if one is good, two is better, I
that's a
suppose. So my backup horns, I just got these. This is actually the buffet cramping the 400 series. They're like the satin,
that's
and it has
nice.
that cool engraving. I got one of these on tenor really cheap off Facebook Marketplace, and it was just going to be like my beach horn when I'm playing beach weddings.
Right.
And I'm like, this thing plays really good. Like the intonation on it, it might actually be better than my Moriat. It has a fat sound, and I'm like, man, this is really good. So I just picked up this alto, and I was debating. I got it to flip, but I'm like, man, this thing plays really good,
Yeah.
and it's punchy. And this one has brand new black Rue pads on it with metal resonators, and I'm like, this thing's pretty cool. So I don't know. I'm liking it too as a backup horn. It's hard to beat for sure.
That's all right, man. Hey, let me ask you, man, how did you feel the first time you heard your record on the radio, man? What were you doing when you first heard yourself on the radio? What was that like?
Dri- Driving somewhere. But but no, that was something. You know, for a while, it kind of got me into it. I mentioned earlier I had several projects before my starting over one came out, and I I was just putting project CDs out to have a product to sell at some of these gigs I was playing that weren't weddings and things that might not pay very well. And so I could offset that cost by selling some CDs, some merch. And so I was never trying to be like the recording artist guy on the radio. But my the last project before starting over that I did that was called My Offering, and there was a song called Kickback that had a different vibe and to it, and all this stuff I kind of recorded. I either produced it myself or I played it with my church band, and we just sat in a room and recorded it all at one time. And excuse me, that song, it kind of had a different vibe to it, and so there were some online radio stations that were I was seeing advertisements for and people posting about to submit your stuff to. So I just sent it just to see what happened. And some of those started playing it. And I was getting some good feedback, and I thought, okay, well, this is kind of cool. And so then people got the bug in my ear, like, hey, you should really do a contemporary jazz album and try it. So my producer friend of mine, Caleb Middleton, he's producing for a lot of people right now, and he produces with and under Adam Holly sometimes too. But he and I just played like his brother's wedding, and we reunited. He's an amazing keyboard player. He's actually playing with my Christmas show with me this coming week. So I said we should really get up and try to record something, and decided to really go in and do a smooth jazz project. And he had never even really heard smooth jazz, never produced it. He just produced gospel music. But I gave him some people to listen to, some Culbertson, some Kaz, some Boney, Richard Elliott, all these people. I'm like, let's get this kind of sound in your head, and then let's see what we come up with. So then we started writing and got together. We did that. I found out what it takes to get on the radio. To get it, it's all about who you know, not what you know. And so I found out I needed to get a radio promoter, or nobody was going to take it serious or even listen to it. So I talked to the Gorovs, and once we had a few songs recorded, I sent them to them to see what they would think if they would take me on as a client, and they did. They liked Rain, which was the first single that we pushed out, and then we followed with Chill, and we submitted all of that. And we just kind of crossed our fingers and hoped that people liked it. And I remember when Jason called me and said, "Hey, Sirius XM watercolors picked up Rain," and I didn't know what that meant because I didn't have Sirius XM. Like, cool.
Right.
He's like, no, this is a big deal, and this is 2015. And he said, no, this is a big deal. He said they pay, the royalties are good. You said you're going to make your money back, which is always the gamble when you, especially this day and age, when you're putting music out. It's really expensive. I mean, you've got the production cost, which is a lot, paying everybody to play on it, the producer, and you've got your marketing, which can cost just as much or more. And it's important to have that, because if you don't have a marketing budget, you could be the best album in the world, but nobody's going to know it. Nobody's going to hear it. And so you've got to pay a lot of that up front. And there's not financing options on this
Right.
stuff. You just got to pay it. It's expensive. It's like buying a car. And so, so we put it out there, and I was so thankful that he was right, that they picked it up. And I remember, I actually once I found out that watercolors picked me up, I became an XM subscriber, because, hey, I need to hear this,
Yeah, yeah.
and people are screenshotting it with their phones and sending me pictures of hearing my song on the radio. And that was really cool.
That's all
So,
right,
but
man.
yeah, I don't remember where I was going. I just know I was in my car somewhere, and I'm like, hey, that's me. And I turn it up. So, yeah.
You just had a real interesting gig. You remember we talked last week. You had a real interesting gig last week, man. You want to talk about that? The Shaka Khan?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's been a busy past couple months, fall season. But yeah, the Shaka Khan thing, that was a real last minute thing that popped up. I was playing like a wine fest on a Sunday with this DJ I do a lot of events with, and they heard me there and said, hey, he was already booked to do this thing with Shaka Khan, and they said, hey, would you play with him, and we'll add you to the bill. And so they said it'll just be, DJ 30A featuring you. And I'm like, okay. So that's how that, I mean, that was had like a week notice that it was actually happening. And so that was a cool opportunity. Basically, I mean, we were playing, it was a gala. It wasn't like a big advertised event. It wasn't really open to the public unless you spend a lot of money
Right.
buying these tables, I guess, because it was a charity event. And so they hired her to come in for this gala and black tie event, and all the money proceeds are going to this charity, which is called Sinfonia. Pretty cool. They get band instruments and things, and for underprivileged kids that want to be in band that can't afford the instruments and things like that, because as we know, schools are very underfunded for the arts.
Yes.
The sports programs, it's kind of like being a respiratory therapist. We're the redheaded stepchildren of the medical field. Nobody knows about us. We're like Batman. We come in and save the day and then get out, and everybody gives credit to the nurses. But anyway, so it's like that with everything. The sports, they get all the equipment, all the money, and then arts is kind of like on the back burner for a lot of
Yeah.
places. A lot of these band instructors don't have any budget at all. So this charity helps get those instruments to the schools and to the students. Pretty cool. But yeah, so I played the dinner gig. It was some of these high profile gigs. I've just had this experience with them, to the point that I don't get excited about them anymore, because I'm just like, the last 10 didn't go that great. So, we'll see what happens. So with this one, sound check went really good. But then when it was time to start, I had no monitors at all. So I'm like, I can't hear anything at all. I'm just trying to play and follow the music. And eventually I just stopped. I'm like, I have no idea where I am in this song. And I'm trying to get their attention. And then they're like, come on. I'm like, what's up? I'm like, I don't have any monitors, And so thankfully it was kind of people are still kind of shuffling in, getting their food and things like that. And the DJ's like playing, spinning the tracks, and he can hear because he's got headphones, but I can't hear nothing. So I'm like, can we get something going here? Because I was able to hear during sound check, and now I can't. And like the roar of people were coming louder than the house speakers. So I'm behind the house speakers, and I'm like, all I hear is people and forks and stuff. So anyway, they finally got that after like 2 songs to where I could hear. And then I played, and then went off stage, and Shaka Khan took a while to come out. I think she was being a little bit of a diva. She kept stalling, saying she needed more time, needed more time, and so she was supposed to come on we were supposed to finish at 8. It started a few minutes late, so we finished at 8:15. They stalled a little bit before they opened the doors to the ballroom, and so we started a few minutes late, and they told us to keep going. So we got off at 8:15. She was supposed to come on at 8:30 and didn't come on till a little bit after 9. She kept asking for more time, and so they were stalling the MCs. But the thing that I before the show started, I told the DJ, we took a little selfie, this one I posted on Facebook, with Shaka's picture in the background on the screen. I said, this is probably as close as we're gonna get, so let's take a selfie. And they had a little green room off to the side of the stage for her, and she came with a huge entourage. I mean, she was only playing with tracks, and she had 3 background singers, but there was like 14 of them. She had like 4 sound guys, and then she had security and some other people that are hanging out in the tent. I don't know who they were, but they were with her. They weren't on stage, but anyway. So she comes out, and she's like right there, but I wasn't bothering her. But then a few people got to come backstage and get pictures with her, and so I thought, oh, so they're probably like high-end sponsors. They probably paid for most of this event, but they were taking pictures with her. So I'm like, I want to get a picture. I just opened up, and so I'm telling the DJ, I'm like, hey, let's get a picture. And the event photographer, I knew him, Jim, and he's like, yeah, let's get a picture. So he's got his nice DSLR camera, and the director, he's like, yeah, you just opened up. You definitely need to get a picture. So he's bringing me up to her, and the security guy's like, whoa, he's like, hey, this guy just opened up for her. Can he get a picture? And then he's like, yeah, come on. And so he's walking me over to her. And then she looked at me, and then she looked at him, and she turned around and said something. I don't know. But he's like, well, she's about to go up in 2 minutes. Let's not do it. I'm like, well, she was supposed to go up 35 minutes ago. Like, it's only going to take 5 seconds, you know? So I'm like, I didn't say that, but I'm just
Right,
like,
right, right.
but I'm like, okay, all these other people got to take one, but yeah, okay. He said, we'll get it as soon as she comes off stage. And I wasn't planning I was only going to stay for like 3 or 4 songs because it was late and I had a 2 hour drive home. But I said, okay. So I stayed for the whole thing, me and the DJ. And then we were ready. I had the director there, I had my phone, everything. She saw me and turned the other direction to make sure she didn't get a picture with me. I'm like,
Wow.
okay. So yeah, that was my experience with that. And then me and the DJ went to leave, and I loaded the DJ's equipment up. He took off, and then I went to crank up my car. My battery was dead. So it's like 11:30 at night, and my car wouldn't start. So I called the DJ back. By the grace of God, he answered because he only had 2% battery life on his phone, and so he came back, tried to jump me off, but it didn't work. So he ended up taking me home, and I came back the next day with a battery and got my car. But
I
anyway,
mean,
that was my experience with that.
hey, that's how it goes sometimes, though, right?
But it is, but I got paid. It was a gig, and did my thing, and pressed on. There's been many better gigs before and after that, but sometimes the ones that look really cool, they're just like, eh. And the next day you play a wedding for somebody that's that's way cooler, and everybody really appreciates it, and everything goes great. So, when I know there's an amazing gig, I'm like, there's going to be some that aren't,
Yeah.
and then sometimes when there's one that isn't, there's going to be better ones. It's just the way it goes.
But you stay busy though. How many dates would you, if you had to count, how many you think you do a year?
Oh, it varies, but I mean, I've tried to cut back on some of it. I'm easily, 130 to 150 a year. But I've tried to cut back on that because I'm like, man, I'm playing so much. Obviously I'm not charging enough. So I need to, so you raise the prices to try to cut back on that. So it's a quality versus quantity type of ratio. But even when I do that, it's just like you change your clientele, but it keeps coming, thankfully. So I get paid better for less gigs. Try to stay home a little bit more, but what I've done, I've gotten more back into the weddings and corporate events, away from the jazz festivals a bit. Just because of that, I can be home more often, and everywhere I play is within a 2 or 3 hour driving radius for the most part. So I can leave early afternoon, go play the gig, come back home, and and I'm not having to stay in a hotel or something. So even this year, it's been over 100 gigs, for about to finish out the year here, and so yeah, thankfully I stayed pretty busy. Uh, it's especially this fall season. It's been at least 4 events a week on average. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but yeah, three or four a week is pretty steady. But it all kind of comes to a halt in January. Like it's busy all through Christmas, and then after New Year's Eve, it's like the month of January, I'm pretty much off, and it's welcomed at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then it picks up again in February around Valentine's Day, and then spring. My spring and fall are pretty much fully booked for next year already for the wedding season. And then the summertime, it was surprisingly steady this year with birthdays and other private events, thankfully. So God is good. He's my booking agent. He keeps me supplied because I don't cold call or send things out to anybody. Thankfully, word of mouth and whatnot. And playing in this area for the past 25 years or so has kept me busy.
What do you practice these days, man? I know you play a lot, so what do you practice when you on your downtime?
I'm constantly learning new songs. So I'm always, especially playing for weddings, I'm always having to learn something that the bride wants. And even though I have a plethora of tunes on this song list that I've learned over the years, and they'll pick some of those, but then it's like, oh, I want this song, and it's something I've never heard of, and I'm going to learn it to play this one time, and then probably never play it again. But then I'm always doing that, which keeps my ear in check because there's no music. I'm just learning, listening to it, and then playing what the singer's doing, and then either finding a track for it or using AI software to remove the vocals so that I can play over it. So I'm always doing that, but I'm playing church is still. I'll be there tomorrow. Anytime I don't have an event, I'm playing at church, and so that always gives me something to constantly be learning or playing. But I play a little bit of everything, and now I'm trying to help teach my daughter things, and so I'm coming approaching it from a different way. But I'm always playing, learning something new. I do a lot of DJ gigs, so he'll give me say, hey, we're playing this dance set. Here's the songs I'm gonna be pulling from, and so I'll be learning where to riff over that
Yeah.
and what key is it in and things like that. So I'd say I'm still mostly self-taught. I haven't had middle school band was where my formal education stopped, and then the school of hard knocks took over. But I mostly like imitate singers with my playing. I try to uh, do what the vocalists do and try to go that direction. I'm not a jazz player per se. I'm more of a R&B, soul music, pop kind of player with the stuff that I play. But yeah, I'm always having to learn new music, so I'm playing along with stuff like that and trying to make it sound right.
Well, I tell you what, man, the first time I really heard you was Ascension. You play that Maxwell Ascension.
Oh yeah, I
That
love that song.
Oh, dude, man, that little thing you did that. Bum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum. I said, get out of here, man. That is tight, man. Your version and Kirk Whalen, those two versions right there, man.
Yeah,
But I honestly, I like yours better, man. That thing you do that. Dum, da-da-dum, da- You know what I'm talking about? That when you do it.
yeah, where I subtone
Yeah,
real
yeah.
low on it.
Dum,
Yeah,
da-da-dum. I said, oh man, that is tight, man. That's a great song for saxophone too, isn't it, man?
it is. It's in a perfect key. I love the
Yeah,
bass line. It just feels great. It especially on tenor.
yeah.
It feels right. I love that song. I love playing that one every chance I get. Yeah, that's definitely a staple. And I thought if I ever do a covers album project, I've thought about it, and that one would definitely be on there. But I recorded on YouTube for now. I put covers on there, but I love that one.
Are you working on any new material? Anything you want to release? Or
Um, I've kind of taken a break from it just because of the streaming platforms has kind of killed the creative vibe for me because it doesn't make me any money anymore. Unfortunately, since the CD sales stopped and downloads, it's all streaming now, so it's hard to make money off of it unless you get on like Sirius XM. It's the royalty payout, the return on investment. It takes so long to recoup your money,
right.
and it's from a business. I treat my music like a business, and I'm the product, and so that's why I just play live events now because it just makes a lot more sense for me. It makes me a lot more money. So it- the streaming platforms, the only people making money are the CEOs of the companies, at 0.003 cents a track on Spotify or something. It's they got to play my song over 300 times before I even get a dollar for it, and so it's really hard to justify like putting out music regularly. The big name artists do it because they're on record labels and they have contracts to fulfill, but also you got to stay relevant. You've
Yeah,
got to if they're going to be on tour, they got to constantly have music out so people
yeah.
are hearing it and so they have something new to play. Unless for Kenny G, and then you can do the same set list for the past 30 years, and
Oh
it's
my
okay.
God.
But
Tell me
um,
about it.
I'm just kidding. I love Kenny, but I
Hey,
gotta throw that out
now
there.
you telling the truth though, bro.
And then you can wear the same suit every night, and that's fine too. So, but I like blue, so it's a nice suit. But anyway, but no, they're gotta constantly be putting out new music to stay relevant and to stay on the radio so that these radio stations have something to play. It's a give and
Yeah,
take relationship. And they can get away with that, because they're getting paid to do that. But artists like me, we don't get paid very well at all to play those festivals. And so more often than not, I ended up owing people money when I left playing. So
right,
so I kind of backed away from those. But yeah, it's pay to play, unfortunately. You've got to produce the music, which costs, and then you've got to pay the radio promoter to put it out there so that people will listen to it. And then you got to hope that it gets picked up. Otherwise, it's going to take a long time to get that money back. And then it's like, well, in my case, most of what I do now is private events, corporate dinners, weddings, and the people booking me they don't even necessarily listen to smooth jazz. They don't even know that I have any music out
Yeah.
necessarily, you know. And so it's one of those like, who am I doing this for? Like, is it for me to see my name on the charts, and is this a pride thing, or is this actually helping business wise? So I still have some that I want to put out, but my next project would probably be more relative to what I'm doing. It would probably be a covers project of just some of my favorite songs that I like to play at these events that I play, because these weddings and everything else, they want to hear songs they recognize. They
Yeah.
don't want to hear my music. They want to hear Ascension, and they want to hear
Yeah.
you know Careless Whisper or something. They want to hear
Right.
the all these songs that they recognize, that mean something to them. And so I play my versions of them. And so that would probably be one of my next steps. And um it's just, then you're playing copyrighted music. You got to get the licensing and all that. So then it makes even less money. But I'm already making 0.004 cents a spin. So why not? But that'll probably be my next one. I actually started recording that about a year or so. I recorded a couple to maybe put on an EP. And a lot of artists, they only put out singles,
Right.
because nobody listens to the full album anymore.
That's true.
Even if you go on Spotify, whatever you're famous, or it could be Culbertson, Cause, whoever you want to look up, the most played songs are going to be whatever their most recent singles are.
Yeah.
Very rarely do people do a deep dive and like listen to the whole project. And so it's like, why spend that extra money on these songs that people aren't listening to? So people mostly release singles now, or EPs. My last couple projects have been EPs. I did my gospel project, and then I did West Coast Soul before that. So if I do another one, it would maybe be just a little EP to put a few songs. Otherwise, I would just trickle a single here and there. But it's just trying to figure out the best cost ratio balance there that makes sense.
I understand. I tell you what, Chris, this has been very interesting, brother. I really appreciate your time, man. But before you
Oh,
go,
yeah.
I got two questions for you. The first one is I need your Mount Rushmore of saxophone players,
Oh, boy.
any genre.
Okay. Well, I brought up Kenny G a lot, because he was, I mean, everybody knows who he is. There's some sax players that really were, pun intended here, instrumental in my early years that a lot of people probably never heard of. They were Sam Levine or Levine and Dave Thrush. They were like gospel sax players. Still, Sam, he's in Nashville. He does a lot of studio recording over there, but he plays all of them, but he played a lot of soprano, and I listened to a lot of him growing up too. He was very inspiring to me. But a lot of people don't know who he is, and then Dave Thrush as well. Angela Christie is a gospel sax player, alto player, amazing. I grew up listening to a lot of her too, but again, these are they're not smooth jazz players, so a lot of the audience may not know who they are. Very inspiring though. So these are some honorable mentions I want to bring up. But
Okay.
as far as my Mount Rushmore, my four players here, um, Kenny's got to be on there. He was one of the first. I still love his soprano. I don't care what anybody says. Great soprano player,
Yeah.
and all of them. I mean, live, I love the way he shreds on tenor. My favorite Kenny G album is his live from like 1989. I don't know if you've heard it. He has the DVD with it too.
Oh
That's
yeah.
my favorite Kenny G album. That like playing Midnight Motion and Tribeca. Like,
Oh yeah.
love those.
Yeah.
Love those. So he's on there. I'd put Grover on there
Oh
too. I
yeah.
mean, to me, he's like the godfather of smooth jazz. I think he really helped pave the way. And Kenny G kind of sealed the deal with the whole contemporary music scene, but Grover really got that ball rolling. And so definitely Grover, Mr. Magic, Wine Light, all those. Boney is probably my favorite tenor player. Um, and man, I don't think she gets enough credit, but Candy Dulfer is my favorite alto player. I love Sanborn too,
Yeah.
but I love Candy's playing, and met her years ago. She's really cool. I love her alto tone.
She's great.
So I guess so. Yeah. So we got Kenny, Boney, Grover, and Candy. I'm gonna put them up there. There's so
Yeah,
many
it
good ones,
is.
but those are
Yeah, that's a beautiful list, man.
yeah.
So, before you go, also, Chris, can you give everybody your social information, any how to booking or merch or
Yeah.
anything you have?
So chrisgodber.com is my website. That's always the hub for where I'm playing and contact information for booking. My socials are on there as well. My music discography is on there. Of course, they're on all the platforms, but you can actually get to those platforms from my website as well. Or if you want to support me the most, you can actually download the songs from there, 99 cents a track, or there's discounted price for the full album. I know nobody buys music anymore, but if you want to, that's most artists have a way that you can do that directly through their website, and it actually goes to us versus the company or distribution center. So definitely the website. But I'm also, my socials are Chris Godber Sax. That's on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and I have a TikTok that I rarely post to. I'm not as active as I should, but I have one of those. But those are the ones. Chris Godber Sax is my handle, and definitely Facebook and Instagram I post the most on.
All right, Chris, I really appreciate your time, brother. And you
Absolutely.
and your daughter, she's going to be a beast. I can tell, man. Just that video that you guys did, I can tell that
Yeah.
she's on her way, man. You gonna teach her, or you gonna get her, or you gonna give her a lesson somebody else
And
later on?
I'm working with her. Yeah, no, I'm teaching her. I started with her a while back. She's wanted to be in band for a while, but she just started 6th grade this year.
Okay.
But she was too little to well, they only start band in 6th grade here. But she started. I started her on a curved soprano because the alto was too big for her at first,
Yeah.
and then she grew into it. But she's doing great. And yeah, 6th grade band. The band teacher wrote me like the second day of school and said, "Hey, I want to move her to 8th grade band. She's too advanced for 6th grade." I'm like, "Why are we jumping to 8th grade?" And he said,
Wow.
"Well, she's ready." I said, "Well, if she's an 8th grade band in 6th grade, where are we going to go the next 2 years?" And he's like, "I don't know. We'll figure it out." I said, "How about we go 7th grade, and that way we have some room to progress there." But no, she's doing. She has an ear too. She's able to just figure things out. It's funny. She'll just be playing her scales, and then she'll hear a note, and then she'll just go off on it, figuring out a song that she's got the melody to in her head. So she's got a lot of potential.
Hey, there you go. Hey, man, I really appreciate your time, brother. You know what? God bless you. Continue all the
Likewise.
great work you're doing, man. And I really appreciate your time, brother.
Oh, you too. I appreciate what you're doing with these podcasts and having people on, giving us a voice to share, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Hey, I'll send you the link or whatever, so you can put it on your YouTube or what have you. Okay.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, man.
Appreciate it. Man. All right,
Everybody,
man.
thank
Take
you
care.
all for coming to the Saxo Friends podcast. My man Chris Godber was another great interview. So you guys take care, and I'll see you the next time.